Mr. Charles Derbyshire, who put Rizal's great novel Noli Me Tangere and its sequel El Filibusterismo into English, as The Social Cancer and the Reign of Greed, besides many minor writings of the greatest man of the brown race, has rendered a similar service for La Indolencia de los Filipinos in the following pages. And with that same fidelity and sympathetic comprehension of the author's meaning, which has made possible an understanding of the real Rizal by English readers. Notes by Dr. James A. Robertson, librarian of the Philippine Library and co-editor of the 55-volume series of historical reprints well called The Philippine Islands 1493 to 1898, so comprehensive are they, show the breadth of Rizal's historical scholarship, and that the only error mentioned is due to using a faulty reprint where the original was not available, indicates the conscientiousness of the pioneer worker. An appropriate setting has been attempted by page decorations, whose scenes are taken from Philippine textbooks of the World Book Company, and whose borders were made in the drawing department of the Philippine School of Arts and Trades. The frontispiece shows a hurried pencil sketch of himself, which Rizal made in Berlin in the spring of 1887 that Professor Blumentritt, whom then he knew only through correspondence, might recognize him at the Light Merits railway station when he should arrive for a proposed visit. The photograph from which the engraving was reproduced, came 1 year ago with the Christmas greetings of the Austrian professor, whose recent death the Philippine Islands, who knew him as their friend and Rizal's, is mourning. The picture perhaps deserves a couple of comments. As a child, Rizal had been trained to rapid work, an expertness kept up by practice, and the copying of his own countenance from a convenient nearby mirror was but a moment's task. Yet the incident suggests that he did not keep photographs of himself about, and that he had the Cromwellian desire to see himself as he really was, for the Filipino features are more prominent than in any photograph of his extant. The essay itself originally appeared in the Filipino Forthrightly Review, La Solidaridad of Madrid, in 5 installments, running from July 15 to September 15, 1890. It was a continuation of Rizal's campaign of education, in which he sought by blunt truths to awaken his countrymen to their own faults. At the same time that he was arousing the Spaniards to the defects in Spain's colonial system, that caused and continued such shortcomings. Today there seems a place in Manila for just suets, missionary work as the indolence of the Filipino aimed at. It may help on the present improving understanding between continental Americans and their countrymen of these far-off Eden Isles, for the writer submits as his mature opinion, based on 10 years' acquaintance among Filipinos through studies which enlisted their interest, that the political problem would have been greatly simplified, had it been understood in Dewey's day. That among intelligent Americans, the much talked of lack of capacity referred to the mass of the people's want of political experience, and not to any alleged racial inferiority. To wounded pride has the discontent been due, rather than to withholding of political privileges. Spanish-Philippine history has curiously repeated itself during the 15 years of America's administration of this archipelago. Just as some colonial Spaniards seemed to the Filipinos less creditable representatives of the metropolis than the average of those who remained in the peninsula, so not all who now pass for Americans in the Philippines are believed here to measure up to the highest home standard. Sitters in swivel chairs underneath electric fans, hold hopeless the future of the land where men do not desire to be drudges. Just as did their predecessors who in wide-armed lazy seats, beneath punkas, talked of Filipino indolence. Ingratitude, today as then, is the regular rejoinder to the progressing people's protest against paternalism, and altruistic regard for their real welfare is still represented as the reason why special legislation should be provided, when Filipinos prefer the same laws as govern the sovereign people. Though those who claim to champion the Philippines' cause apparently are unaware of it, these islands have a population strangely alike in its makeup to the people of America. Their history is full of American associations. Americans develop their leading resources, and American ideas have inspired their political aspirations. It betrays blindness somewhere that ever since 1898, Filipinos have been trying to get loose from America in order to set up here an American form of government. There seems now a prospect that insular legislation may make available to the individual the guarantees of personal liberty upon which America at home prides itself. That municipal self-government and provincial autonomy may become realities in the Philippines. And possibly even that both Filipinos and Americans may realize, before it is too late, How our elastic territorial government could be made to exact from them much less of their independence than the sacrifice of sovereignty necessary in neutralization or internationalization. Unwillingness to work when there is nothing in it for them is common to Filipinos and Americans, for Thomas Jefferson admitted that extravagance and indolence were the chief faults of his countrymen. Labor-saving machinery has made the fruits of Americans' labors in their land of abundance afford a luxury in living not elsewhere existing. But the Filipino, in his rich and not overpopulated home, shutting out, as we do, Oriental cheap labor, may employ American machinery and attain the same standard. The possibilities for the prosperity of the population put the Philippines in the New World, just as their discovery and their history group them with the Western Hemisphere. Austin Craig, University of the Philippines, Manila, December 20, 1913.